The average American replaces their wiper blades every 6 months. The average Japanese driver replaces them every 4 to 5 years. Same rain, same rubber, same cheap blades from the auto parts store. So why is there a gap of 4.5 years between them? This is not about a special product. It is not about Japanese weather being gentler on rubber. It comes down to one thing. Japanese car culture figured out what actually kills wiper blades, and American car culture never did. The auto parts industry has made billions of dollars off that ignorance every single year. Today we are breaking down what the Japanese know that we do not, why your wiper blades are dying faster than they should, and what the $1.3 billion wiper blade replacement industry does not want you to figure out. Let's start with the thing nobody in the American car care industry wants to say out loud. Most wiper blades that get thrown away aren't dead. They're dirty. That's it. That's the secret the industry has built a $1 billion annual replacement market on. The streaking, the chattering, the smearing. In the overwhelming majority of cases, those aren't signs of a blade that's worn out. They're signs of a blade that's contaminated and dried out. Two completely different problems with completely different solutions. But if you don't know the difference, you end up at AutoZone every 6 months spending $25 on a replacement that wasn't necessary. Japanese car culture, driven largely by the country's notoriously strict vehicle inspection system called the Shaken, developed a deep understanding of component-level maintenance. The Shaken penalizes owners for failed components so severely that Japanese drivers developed a habit of restoring things before they fail, not replacing them after. Wiper blades became a case study in that philosophy, and what they figured out about rubber science changed how the country thinks about maintenance entirely. Here's what's actually happening when your wiper blades go bad. Wiper blade rubber has two mortal enemies, and neither of them is age. The first is ultraviolet radiation. Ultraviolet light from the sun breaks down the polymer chains inside the rubber at a molecular level. You can't see it. You can't feel it in the early stages, but every hour your car sits in direct sunlight with those blades resting against the windshield. The rubber is degrading. The compounds that give rubber its elasticity and flexibility are literally being destroyed by light. After enough ultraviolet exposure, the rubber hardens, becomes brittle, and loses its ability to conform to the slight curve of your windshield. That's when you get the classic streak pattern. The blade is too rigid to maintain full contact with the glass. The second killer is petroleum contamination, and this one is aggressive. Every time it rains, your wipers drag across a windshield that is coated in a film of road grime, engine oil mist, exhaust particulates, brake dust, and the silicone compounds left behind by car washes. These petroleum-based contaminants bond directly to the rubber wiping edge. They don't just sit on the surface. They absorb into the outer layer of the rubber and harden it from the outside in. The rubber loses flexibility unevenly. It glazes over. A glazed rubber edge cannot grip the glass properly, which is why you get those arcs of smeared water that look like your blade is pushing the rain around rather than clearing it. This part is genuinely infuriating once you understand it. Petroleum contamination on a wiper blade is almost entirely preventable. It builds up because American car owners were never taught to clean their windshields properly before it accumulates. Standard washer fluid is mostly water with a trace of detergent. It does not dissolve petroleum contamination. It pushes contamination around, and every wipe cycle works that contamination deeper into the rubber edge. Japanese mechanics understand this, which is why degreasing the windshield glass is treated as the foundation of wiper maintenance, not an optional extra step. Now things get interesting, and the American replacement industry's business model falls apart completely. Rubber, unlike glass or metal, has layers. The outer layer of wiper blade rubber is what takes the full assault of UV radiation and petroleum contamination. That outer layer hardens, glazes, and fails. But beneath that degraded outer surface, in most blades that get thrown away, the rubber is still viable, still flexible, still functional. The blade is not dead. The outer layer is dead. And nobody taught American drivers that those are two different things. Japanese mechanics discovered that carefully removing that degraded outer layer exposes functional rubber underneath. That rubber, once treated with the right protective compound, behaves essentially like new. This is the core insight behind what has become known broadly as the Japanese wiper restoration method, and it is based on straightforward rubber science, not folklore. The protective compound matters enormously here, and this is where American car care products actively cause damage. Most American rubber protectants, including some of the most popular products on store shelves, contain petroleum distillates. Apply those to wiper blade rubber, and the rubber swells unevenly, softens in irregular patches, and leaves greasy smears across your windshield that reduce visibility in rain. Using the wrong protectant is arguably worse than using nothing. The solution used in Japan is pure silicone-based rubber conditioner. No petroleum content. Silicone penetrates the rubber, restores flexibility, and forms a UV protective barrier that dramatically slows the oxidation process. Japanese auto parts stores carry silicone rubber conditioner specifically formulated for wipers as a standard shelf product. In America, you have to know to look for 100% silicone spray with no petroleum additives, and most people have no idea that distinction even matters. There is another layer to this that the replacement industry really does not want discussed. Your windshield is killing your wiper blades faster than almost anything else, and it has nothing to do with the blades themselves. A windshield that looks clean is almost never chemically clean. The glass surface collects an invisible film of silicone residue from car washes, petroleum compounds from road spray, and mineral deposits from hard water. This film is smooth to the touch and nearly transparent, so drivers assume the glass is fine. But when a wiper blade drags across that contaminated glass, two things happen simultaneously. The contamination gets worked into the rubber edge, and the irregular chemistry of the film causes the blade to chatter and skip, which most people interpret as a dying blade. The film on the glass is the actual problem. The blade is just the messenger. Isopropyl. Alcohol at 70% concentration or higher is one of the few accessible household chemicals that actually dissolves this film completely. Auto detailers call it a clay bar preparation step. Japanese car culture treats it as basic, routine windshield maintenance. In America, it is essentially unknown outside of enthusiast circles, which is exactly why American wiper blades keep failing at the rate they do. There is one more failure mode worth understanding because it is the one that the restoration approach genuinely cannot fix. Confusing it with rubber failure is one of the most common diagnostic mistakes drivers make. Traditional wiper blades have a metal spine running through the frame. That spine is what gives the blade its arc and maintains pressure against the curved glass. Over time, especially in climates with harsh freeze-thaw cycles, that spine fatigues and deforms unevenly. When it does, certain sections of the blade lose contact with the windshield entirely. The signature of a dead spine is a diagonal dry stripe that appears in the same location on every wipe cycle. The rubber on either side of that stripe clears perfectly. The dry zone is fixed and consistent. That is a structural failure inside the blade frame. The rubber could be in perfect condition, and it would not matter, because the blade can no longer press evenly against the glass. The signature of contaminated or degraded rubber is completely different. Streaking and chattering are distributed across the entire wipe arc, not localized to one zone. Smearing worsens in temperature extremes because the rubber becomes more rigid and cold. These are rubber and contamination problems, and they respond to restoration. Japanese mechanics are trained to diagnose which failure mode they are dealing with before they touch anything. American drivers were never taught this distinction, so they replace everything regardless. This matters more now than ever before, because wiper blade quality has quietly gotten worse over the past decade. Manufacturers have been under margin pressure since the mid-2010s, and rubber compound quality in budget wiper blades has degraded accordingly. The blades that Americans are buying today at $12 to $18 contain thinner rubber with lower quality ultraviolet inhibitors than blades from 15 years ago. They are engineered to fail faster, and the retail replacement cycle is built around that planned degradation. Beam-style blades, the solid curved ones without an exposed metal frame, hold up better under the Japanese maintenance approach because the rubber edge is fully accessible and pressure is distributed evenly across the entire blade length, rather than through a series of pressure points on a metal frame. They cost slightly more up front. Over a multi-year maintenance cycle, the cost difference is irrelevant, but the blade type is secondary to the maintenance culture. A cheap, traditional frame blade maintained the Japanese way will outlast an expensive beam-style blade maintained the American way. That is not speculation. It is rubber science. The numbers tell the whole story. The American wiper blade replacement market generates over $1.3 billion annually. The average American household replaces wiper blades 1 to 2 times per year. Japanese households, on average, replace wiper blades once every 4 to 5 years. If American drivers adopted the maintenance approach that has been standard in Japan for decades, the wiper blade replacement market would not generate $1.3 billion. It would generate a fraction of that. The auto parts industry knows this. They have always known this. Wiper blades are one of the highest margin, highest replacement frequency consumables in the entire automotive aftermarket. There is zero financial incentive for that industry to teach American consumers what Japanese mechanics learned generations ago. And that is the actual story here. Not a product, not a secret formula, just a gap in consumer knowledge that the industry profits from every single time it rains. That's everything for today. If this changed how you're thinking about what's actually in your driveway right now, drop a comment below. Tell me how old your current wiper blades are. I want to know. Hit that like button if the industry finally makes you angry, and subscribe with the bell on so you catch us next time. See you then.